Good morning and welcome to the webinar on user management and security. Thank you for joining us today. This is Madhu, product marketer, and I will be your presenter. Let me also introduce to you my colleagues Purnam, who will give you the product demo, and Kirti, who will help you answering the questions. I hope I'm audible to everybody. Let me know in the comment box, please. Okay, thank you for your responses. All right, before we begin this webinar, let me highlight a few things. This webinar is mostly targeted at users who are admins of their respective Zoho CRM accounts. But if you are not an administrator, you can still continue to learn how user management and security works in Zoho CRM and recommend it to your administrators. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comment box and my colleagues will answer them for you. And just in case they are busy answering other questions, we'll get back to you with a reply on email. I am also recording this presentation and I'll be sending out an email with a link to the recorded version. And we'll also be hosting this on our website for future reference. Since we take data security seriously at Zoho, you'll find that most of these features are available across all editions of Zoho CRM. Okay, so here's the agenda for today's webinar, Security in Zoho CRM. When I say security, there are two layers. The first layer is before logging into Zoho CRM, and the second layer is after logging into it. We'll first touch up on the first layer of security features, covering IP restrictions and two-factor authentication, and then we'll move on to the second layer, the basics of roles, profiles, and groups, which includes the dynamics of data visibility and feature accessibility. So one way to avoid malicious attacks on your data from outsiders is by putting IP restrictions in place. You get to define the IP range from which your Zoho CRM account can be accessed. By restricting the allowed IPs, you can prevent access to your Zoho CRM account from unknown or insecure networks. You may even prefer your employees accessing Zoho CRM only from within the office. So with the allowed IPs feature, the administrator can add the IPs for individual users, users in a role or a group. We'll see this in detail when we move on to the product demonstration. We'll now move on to two-factor authentication. It is often referred to as a two-step verification, and it is a security process in which the users provide two authentication factors to verify they are who they say they are. Two-factor authentication provides an additional layer of security, which makes it harder for hackers to gain access into a person's devices and online accounts because knowing just the victim's password is not enough to pass the authentication check. So once you've enabled TFA along with a strong password and your phone number, you will be given a set of security codes to use in times you do not have your device at hand or if you have lost your device. You can also manage your trusted browsers and set app-specific passwords for all your integrations that you've made with Zoho CRM. So TFA has to be enabled by each individual user, and I recommend that you make it a policy in your company for your users to enable TFA. So we'll now move on to a demonstration by Purnam.
Thank you, Madhumita. So, hi everybody, my name is Purnam and I'm pre-sales engineer for Zoho. I'm going to show you a demo on the features, how to restrict the IP address for your users and two-factor authentication. So, to set up these, we need to switch on to Zoho CRM account. So, switching to the CRM account, the first topic is restricting the IP address. So to make any changes or any customizations in Zoho CRM, you got to click on the settings icon that you see at the top right corner and choose Setup, under which you see a topic called Users and Control, and under which you see Security Control. Under that, you will see a tab called Allowed IPs. So in this allowed IPs page, click on Get Started. So in Configure Allowed IPs page, you need to select the user type. So by default, there are 4 users type: all users, users, groups, and roles. So by selecting this, you can give all your users the access to Zoho CRM from only the specified IPs. So this applies to when you're going to restrict the IPs for the selected users or for groups or for roles. So let's take an example for users. So here, all the users who have added in your Zoho CRM account will be listed. So you can just select them based on your requirement. And when you scroll down, by default, you can see your current IP address will be set it up. So you got to click on Add IP, and you need to choose which IP type it is. So by choosing static IP, you need to enter the IP address, and by choosing IP range, you need to enter the network IP and subnet mask. So these details will be available from your service providers. And the name that you can give will be your location name, like Austin office or APAC. So you can give a name and add the IPs. Once the IPs has been configured, the respective users for whom we have made the restriction can access Zoho CRM only in the configuration that we have made. So followed by the IPs, the next topic is two-factor authentication. So to enable two-factor authentication, click on the settings icon at the top right corner, and which you'll see an option My Account. So by clicking on this, it'll take you to a new page, which is Zoho Accounts page. In that, you will see a box called two-factor authentication. By default, you will have 2 types of two-factor authentications. One is through SMS and one is through Google Authenticator. So if you wish to get the authenticator message through SMS, you got to set your mobile phone number. So based on which, when you're logging into the Zoho CRM account, a text message will be received. So where you need to get the code for logging into the CRM account. Or if you're looking for Google Authenticator, you need to install this application in both Android and iPhones. So by which, when you're logging into the CRM account, you need to view your Google Authenticator to have the code. By having that code, you can get started working on with your Zoho CRM account. So now Madhumita will proceed on the next topic on roles, profiles, and user management.
Thanks, Purnam. We are now moving on to the second layer of security, but let's see why user management is important first. The significance of securing your customers' information cannot be stressed enough. In a way, your customers' information is just as important as your financial information. In most cases of information security threat, there is someone who misuses your access privileges or unwittingly creates a vulnerability in your system. So it makes a lot of sense for you to restrict what data your employees should see. So how does this actually work? You first create roles to determine the hierarchy and data visibility, and then create profiles to define the permissions, and finally, you assign the roles and profiles to users. You can also create groups to enable collaborative work. So let's go through the rest of the webinar with an example. Zilko Corp is an automotive company operating with 100 salespersons across the globe. So as part of an expanding team, Linda, the VP of Marketing of Asia Pacific region, hires Chris as a sales manager. Before Chris can access the CRM, Amelia, as an administrator, has to ensure he has the access to the right information. So the first step in role-based security is to define roles. A role defines the position of a user or users within the organization's hierarchy. Defining roles can help you understand what level the employee functions in, whom he reports to, and who his peers are. It can be used to provide or restrict data access to CRM. You can create a figurative structure of your organization's hierarchy online in your Zoho CRM. The roles need not be literal. For example, the access permission of the CEO level might be held by someone who acts on behalf of the CEO and not by the CEO himself. We'll go into details of how data flows in the demonstration. With our example, let's consider that Amelia creates an APAC sales manager role for Chris, and she also chooses to enable data sharing with peers. So now employees with the same designation or roles can view each other's records. Now that the data level access has been restricted by creating a role, the next step is to assign a profile. Amanda can either assign a default profile or create a new profile named APAC Sales Manager and configure the access rights to suit Linda's team's needs. Apart from access rights to modules, Linda can also define which data is visible to your user and provide access only to necessary data. With field level restriction feature, you can either hide the field from the layout or make it read-only. For example, Chris need not be given permission to all the fields or to write on some of the fields in the potentials module. You can add or remove users from your Zoho CRM account and assign roles and profiles. The next time Linda hires a person for the same designation, Amelia, as an administrator, would choose the saved profile right away and skip the configuration process. So Chris is now all set to go ahead and work with the leads assigned. So over to the demonstration by Purnam.
Thank you, Madhumita. So now I'm going to show you a demo on how to create roles and profiles and how to associate these roles and profiles to the user and give the restrictions accordingly. So switching to Zoho CRM account, as I said, for any customizations, you got to click on the settings icon at the top and choose setup, under which you got users in control. So under which you can see security control. So as I said, we got to create roles first. So click on the roles tab here. By default, you will have two roles. One is CEO and a manager. So now Amelia is the CEO and Linda is the vice president. Now Amelia wants to create a role for Chris who will be reporting to Linda. So now to create a role for Chris, mouse over near the vice president and click on the small plus button that you see to create a subordinate role. So the role name would be APAC Sales Manager, who is reporting to Vice President, and enter the descriptions if needed. On saving on this role, I can see that APAC Sales Manager, who is Chris, is reporting to Vice President. Now, if Amelia wants to add another user with the same role, it is not required that you need to add a new role. Amelia can set the same role with the option share data with peers. So when this option is enabled, users who are in the same role can share records each others and view record with each others accordingly. So that is share data with peers. So we have created roles now. And now let's see how to set up profiles. So profiles is basically what your users going to do in the CRM system, what actions that they can perform. So there are a bunch of actions available in Zoho CRM system. Actions like to create a record, to delete a record, to edit a record, to import, to export, to update, right? So these are the bunch of actions available. So now Amelia going to set up these configuration, what all access should Chris should have in order to view the information. Now, by default, you will have two profiles, administrator and standard. Administrator will have all the permissions while standard will not administrative permissions. So to create a custom profile, so I'm going to create a pack sales manager, right? So click on new profile button that you see at the top right corner. The profile name would be APAC Sales Manager. And this clone profile is nothing but, as I said, administrator will have all the permissions and standard will not have administrative permissions. So we can associate, we can clone the profile for administrator based on which we can make the further restrictions. And let's see how that can be done. And enter the profile description as well. So to restrict the access for Chris, who is APAC sales manager, right? I don't want Chris to delete a record in the deals module. So next to deals, I can click on this and disable the option of delete. By disabling this option, Chris will not be able to delete a record from the deals module. The same options are available for other topics such as import and export, tools, admin level permissions, email templates, and also to create web forms, other tools, permissions and all. So based on Amelia's requirement, whatever access Chris should have, she can restrict the access accordingly. So that is about the profiles. Here we have seen how to restrict the access based on a module level. Now let me show you how to restrict the data based on a field level. So to restrict the data based on a field level, get back to the setup screen under which you have customization from the left side panel. Click on modules, select which module you want to restrict the access for, under which you can see a link called fields, and you have a button tab called field permissions. So based on the module that you select, the fields are available in that module will be listed out. So for example, Amelia wants Chris not to see the company name or should not see the currency. So in that case, Amelia can enable or disable the options based on read write or read only or don't show. So if Amelia wants Chris not to see the currency field, then she will be enabling the option as don't show. So by making this as enabled, Chris will not see the currency field in the leads module. Once the changes is being done, click on save. So that is about the profiles where we have seen field level security, module level security. Now we have created roles and profiles. Now let's see how to associate these roles and profiles when adding a user. So to add users, under the users and control, select users. Click on add new user button. Now Amelia wants to create Chris as a user. So the first name is Chris, enter the last name, enter the email address of Chris, select the role, so APAC Sales Manager, and the profile will be APAC Sales Manager, and save it. So once you save it, an invitation link will be sent to Chris' email address where Chris has to click on that link to join into your Zoho CRM account. Now, we have seen how roles and profiles has been associated while adding a user. Now, for some reason, Chris has left the company. How to delete Chris from the Zoho CRM account, right? So click on username. Let's say I want to delete this user, right, or deactivate it. I need to select this user, and in the right side panel, I have an option delete this user. Or if you want, in case instead of deleting this user, you want to deactivate this user, you can click on this button called deactivate at the top right corner. Now that's it with the users, roles and profiles. Now Madhumita will be taking the next part of the session, which is advanced user management of data sharing.
Thanks, Poonam. Okay, now let's talk about how groups can function. Let's assume Linda's team has a set of sales managers working on the same group which shares a common set of records. These are big potential leads that require inputs and insights from the team because as a team they can close more deals. The sales managers can collaborate by adding notes or mentioning each other with at notification on these deals, and as they do so, it shows up instantly in their feeds. Linda, as a VP, has visibility on what's happening with those high value deals and can add her comments as the deal progresses. Records are assigned only to an individual, but by creating groups, you can give access permissions to multiple people to work collaboratively. With record level sharing, she can have the option to choose access privileges as read only or read or write. She can also choose which of the associated profiles to share. So now Poonam will tell you how groups work.
Thank you, Madhumita. So I'm going to show you a demo on data sharing using groups and record level sharing. So switching to Zoho CRM account. So in order to share data between groups, you need to create groups accordingly, right? So from the left side panel, under users and control, click on users. Okay, so before I could show you a demo, let's see a sample hierarchy. From this hierarchy, you can see that Director of Sales, who is reporting to VP of Sales, is one department, and Director of Product Management, who is reporting to VP of Engineering, is another department, right? Now, this Director of Sales, Director of Marketing, and Director of Product Management, we should create them as a group, right? So how should we create them as a group? Let's see that. So in order to create groups, click on the Groups tab that you see. Create new group. Enter the group name. Let's say that would be Elite Marketing. Enter the description. Select the group source type. So do you want to create a group from the roles or from the users, or roles and subordinates? Let's say that would be from roles. So the group that I'm going to create will be VP, right? And VP of Engineering and Director of Product Management. And I'm saving it. Now we have created a group, Elite Marketing. Okay. So based on this, how can we share data between the users? So to share data between the users, click on the security controls from the left side panel, under which you will see data sharing settings. By default, you will have a default organization permissions to be set up. So which is for each and every module, you will have three options: private, public read only, public read write delete. So by choosing private, only the assigned records will be seen by the users in your organizations with respective to the modules here. By choosing public read only, all the users will have access to see the records. But by choosing the third option, all the users will have read, write and delete permission. Apart from this, how are you going to share data between the groups, right? So to create, we have already created a groups, and to create a data sharing rule, just scroll down and you will have a section called sharing rules, And this rule can be created for each and every module. Let's say I want to create rule for leads. Click on New Sharing Rule. So we are going to share data from one group to another group, right? So where data will be shared between these two groups. So I'm going to select record shared from groups, select which group name, that would be Allied Marketing, which we have created, to another group. Let's say that would be sales, which has already been created in the CRM system. And now what access that I'm going to give them? Either the complete read, write, delete access or the read only access. And by clicking on create sharing rule, this rule will be created and the data will be shared accordingly. So we have seen how to create groups and data sharing settings. Now with these groups, right, how the collaboration will take place. As Madhumita said, using feeds, collaborations can be done using groups as well, right? So click on the feeds tab at the top left corner, and the left side panel you can see the groups option, right? So now I want to collaborate with the specific groups. So I'll be entering the respective comments, and to enable the groups, I'll be clicking on this drop down option and I'll be choose to which group I want to collaborate with. So by choosing this group name, and when I click on post, that comments will be seen only by the members who are associated within that group. So that is the completion of groups data sharing using groups. Now the other topic and the last topic will be record level sharing. So this record level sharing is nothing but sharing records individually with the users in the organization. From this hierarchy that you see, say director of sales, right, want to share a record with the director of CSS. So this director of CSS is from another department and this director of sales is from another department. So how they can share the records, right? So to do that, get into a module, let's say accounts contacts. So let's take an example for accounts. And I have a company called Excel Private Limited, and I want to share this record with one of my colleagues from another department, right? So in the accounts record detail page at the top right corner, I can see three dots. By clicking on it, I see an option called share. So it will ask me to which users I want to share to, right? And what is the access that I would like to give them, read only or read write. And this account, we have a related deal is being associated. If you want this user to view that deal, you can enable the option read only, or they can edit, then you can use the option read write. Or you don't want that user to view the related potential, you can select the option as do nothing. So by setting up this configuration, the record will be shared to the selected user with a read only option. That's it. That's all with the groups and record level sharing. Thank you.
So this brings us to the end of this webinar. And on behalf of Poonam and Kirti, I'd like to thank you for your time. Do reach out to us for any questions at support@zohocrm.com. And don't forget to join us on Thursday at the same time to learn how your small business can benefit from Zoho CRM. We'll be online for another 5 to 10 minutes to answer your questions. Have a great day.
Thank you again. Have a good day. Bye bye.